Hello, everybody. This week, we are going to talk about the difference between society's definition of maternal instinct and the definition that is true for me. And then I'm just going to invite you to think about what's true for you.
Welcome to Parenting Successful Teens, the podcast that cuts through the overwhelm and stress of this phase and offers parents simple, practical, cognitive, science-based strategies for keeping their teens on track. Join Master Coach and real-life mom, Allie Irwin, to talk about real teens, real problems, and the skills it takes to raise successful adults.
Maternal instinct, as defined by society, goes something like this. Number one, it is a biological imperative that all women should feel about becoming mothers, okay? It's the idea that women are biologically wired to want to become mothers. And related to that is the idea that all women not only should want to become mothers, but motherhood should then become their most important accomplishment, that we should value our motherhood above anything else that we do. Okay? And if you don't, sort of the corollary to that is there's something wrong with you, right? Like there's almost like a pathology to it, a stigma that unfortunately a lot of women still feel when they choose not to have children. Or choose to have children, but to still prioritize their career or their other relationships, okay? And I want you to notice in yourself as I'm saying that, like what kind of emotions that brings up for you. Because when I say that, I get like a little stabby feeling in my solar plexus. And that's an indication that even though intellectually I don't believe that, there's still some part of me that has heard that message so often that I believe it on a physical level, not like an intellectual level, but on like a gut level, that patriarchal conditioning is still in me. Okay? So that's the first half of the maternal instinct, is that we should all want to be amazing moms. And the second half is, and I do want to be an amazing mom. Like I do have those feelings, but it's this idea that I should have those feelings rather than like this is a choice that feels right for me. Okay? I want us all to be making our own choices. The second half of maternal instinct is this idea that mothers have this magical knowing. It's almost like the stick turns pink and we get this download, this magical knowing. We no longer want a cocktail at dinner. We, immediately quit all bad habits. This magical knowing like gets downloaded to us. I joke about it being downloaded like in the delivery room where suddenly, yesterday you had no idea what to do. And today you are bonded with your baby and you know exactly what to do. And one of the major, I'm laughing, looking at my notes here, one of the major things that I heard a lot when my kids were babies was this idea that I would be able to tell all their cries apart. Like, I would be able to tilt my ear up and go, oh, they're hungry or they're wet or they're bored or, their binkies on the floor or whatever. And maybe you did have that kind of knowing, but that didn't happen for me. 2 children, I never got that magical knowing with either one of them. Like I could definitely tell a real cry from fake cry, and I could make educated guesses based on context. But most of reading my kids' cues came from getting to know them, which happened over time. It wasn't like a magical knowing. Just like I can tell with my husband, now I can tell after we've been home, working from home for 2 years, I can tell who he's on the phone with because I've gotten so used to all of his different like personal and work voices. So that magical knowing, it's not like a download. It's something that gets built over time. So the next piece of mother's instinct that I want to point out is this idea that it gets used against us. And if you think about it, if you're supposed to magically know what to do in any situation and something goes wrong, then of course it's your fault because you were supposed to know what to do. So your maternal instinct got it wrong and your kids suffered. And then, bam, mom guilt. It's like a direct line from society's idea that you should know what to do into the pressure that all moms, not all moms, but certainly many, many moms put on themselves to get it right. And then that line leads straight to mom guilt when things go sideways, which of course they're going to because, we're human moms parenting human children. Okay, can you see that straight line from you're supposed to know what to do, and if something goes wrong, you should have known ahead of time and prevented it, and so now you feel guilty that you didn't know. Okay, you can see maternal instinct, instead of being our friend, becomes like a weapon that we use against ourselves or that we let society use against us. And the last piece is this idea of what getting it right even is. And what getting it right means for moms is based on the culture in which you're raising your kids. Okay, the idea of getting it right is the idea that you're raising your family in a way that meets cultural expectations. It's a form of getting your kids to follow that culture's rules. Not the rules that work best for your family, but the rules of the culture that you're raising your family in. Okay, so can you start to see the problem there? Maternal instinct is supposed to be about you knowing what's right for your family. But if culture is saying what's right for your family, then you knowing what's right for your family gets pushed down and turned on its ear. And then maternal instinct is about you getting your kids to do what other people think they should be doing. It's about raising your kids to fit into the culture that you live in. So if you have neurodivergent kids, that's going to cause some trouble. Or, it's, even if it's something like you have artistic kids in a school that values academics, or academic kids in a school that values sports. And I'm not saying any of those things are exclusionary. I'm just saying that if you are raising kids that are different than what your culture values, then their idea of what your maternal instincts should be doing causes problems. And then I got really lucky. I had kids who wouldn't follow any of the rules that the culture that we lived in was suggesting would be good rules for a successful life. Actually, I had one child that followed all of the rules and one child that followed none of the rules. And what I discovered in trying to raise both of them is that those rules didn't work for anyone. And that the maternal instincts that I had been sold as a way to operate were really just a way to control my kids and try to get them to do what this culture wanted them to do. And that ended up, like I said, not working for either child. But what did happen that is amazing is in that space of trying to figure out how to do what was right for my family, not what was right for the neighborhood or my extended family or other people that had opinions, I discovered what I consider to be my true maternal instinct. And that true maternal instinct it's what happens, it's what develops when you choose yourself and your family and what feels right for you and your family over and over and over again. It's what happens when you get good at tuning into yourself as an expert instead of turning outside to experts to tell you what to do. It's the internal database that you build up over time, plus that gut instinct that we all share. It's like the combination of this database that you create that is specific to you and your family of what works and how people respond to things and what people's values are. And then that married with that gut instinct that we all have. And that's not special to moms. This is something that dads have as well. The part that's special is the time and love and energy that moms put into it. And dads. Like, there's no shade about dads. And so they really are hurt by the whole idea of maternal instinct because they're told that moms have this special knowing that they don't have. And that's just a lie. Everyone has it. It's just this combination of the database, this internal family database that you build up over all of those dinners and carpools and trips to the grocery store and trips to the doctor and all of those things. That database married with your gut instincts, that's what your true maternal instinct is. Like I said, the special part is all the time and love that you put into developing that. Okay? So if you don't feel like you have it, that's totally fine because it's something that you can develop, right? We as women are socialized so often to turn outside of ourselves for expertise, to ask other people what we should do. We're not trained to trust ourselves. And we're especially not trained to trust ourselves when situations are happening different from what society expects. And so it's almost like at the very time that we need our maternal instincts the most, that's like the toughest time to use them if you haven't been practicing. Okay, so if you want help developing it, I can definitely help you. And let me give you an outline kind of what that is so that you can start to think about it and think about what that would be like for yourself. It's a mix of releasing judgment, yours and other people's, and guilt. Judgment, feeling other people's judgment, taking in other people's judgment, feeling guilt for the choices that you make and for how things are for your family. All of that are like clouds that make it hard to see, hard to tap into your maternal instincts. Next step is to really get good at knowing what you're actually feeling. So many people are really good at thinking about their feelings versus feeling somatically in their body what's happening. We ignore, like we have this gut instinct that we're aware of, but then we don't develop paying attention to our gut. We don't develop the attention to what our body is feeling in different situations, and so we miss out on half the information. It's about developing presence so that you don't mentally dissociate from hard conversations. Okay, those conversations matter. They're vital. You can't skip them. And by skip them, I don't mean that you're not there having them. I mean that you're kind of half dissociated, or you go in with one idea and you're not really present for the exchange that's happening between you. Okay, that exchange is vital. And unfortunately, maternal instinct requires that you stay present even for the shitty stuff, the stuff that you would rather skip out on, the stuff you would rather pretend not to know. You have to be there for all of it. You have to be there for the times that you guess wrong and someone suffers. And you have to be there for the times that you guess right and someone still suffers. And unfortunately, there's no replacement for that. But the very skill of being there all the time, and I don't mean like you're never away from your kids, I mean that when you're present, you're really present. The benefit of that is when you know you can be present for anything, then you are present for more things. Like when you try to skip the hard stuff, you actually end up also skipping a lot of the joy. Which is very paradoxical, and it sounds like it should be on a coffee mug, but it is absolutely true. So this magical download idea that culture peddles as maternal instinct is a pale substitution for the real thing. It's absolutely worth all the skin you put in the game to develop it, because true maternal instinct is intimacy. And that connection, that deep knowing of your family, that will sustain you no matter what path your family takes, no matter what they encounter. And like I said, you're there for all the messy joys and chaos, the screaming and the tears and laughter and all of it. And it's what builds true confidence that no matter what life throws at you, you will be able to handle it. And that is the best gift you can give you and your family. Talk to you next week. Hey, if you enjoyed today's show and you want even more support and a shot of fresh inspiration in your email box each week, you have to get on my list. Sign up to receive my free guide on how to stop second-guessing yourself as a mom. There are so many decisions to make as a mom, and this guide will help you to make decisions and just move on. No more waking up 3 a.m. wondering if you made the wrong decision. This guide is so good. Even my non-mom clients are raving about it. So sign up today, and I will see you next week.